You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, the Joplin School Board addresses the lack of school bus drivers.
Gorgeous start, but we know that there's rain on the way. We've got one pop-up we're monitoring already and a long line of thunderstorm activity headed right our way. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, Pitt State hosts a conference for high school students on banned books. All that and more coming up.
Most Watch News starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. The Joplin School Board takes action aimed at addressing a shortage of bus drivers. Joplin schools have been experiencing a bus driver shortage since the school year began, and because of that, routes are longer than expected. Drop-off and pickup times are inconsistent, and buses are more crowded.
We combined our routes this year, which made some of them kind of at the limit of what we want. We want to be an hour or less. So some of those routes now are right at an hour, and if there's any delay at all, if a parent doesn't show up to receive their kindergarten first grade student, we have to take that student back to school. That makes them late for their next route.
Last night, the Joplin School Board approved a pay raise for bus drivers and other incentives, including additional optional work days. The board hopes the changes will help improve bus driver recruitment. Pitt State is exploring the topic of censorship during Banned Books Week. Yesterday, the university hosted a conference for area high school students covering the topic of books that have been banned or challenged in high schools around the nation. The guest speaker, author Chris Crutcher, whose books for young people have been banned in some places. Crutcher says that while some people might find certain books offensive, kids should read them with their parents as an opening to discuss difficult or embarrassing subjects.
The more kids know, the more college kids, the more adults know about, the truth of other people's lives, the kinder we can be, the more accepting we can be of each other. It's like everybody has a story. You look at somebody that you really don't like, but you don't know that person's story.
Crutcher has 3 books on the American Library Association's list of top 100 banned or challenged books from 2000 to 2009. And those are Whale Talk, Athletic Shorts, and Staying Fat for Sarah Burns. You can find them and many more in a Banned Books exhibit at the Bicknell Center Art Gallery. It is free and open to the public. A couple of stores that have been staples in the Nevada community for more than half a century are closing their doors. The owners of Davison Shoes and Virgo Sporting Goods announced they are retiring and closing up shop after 64 years in business. Their businesses are now running liquidation sales to help sell off their remaining inventory. Thousands gathered in Wichita, Kansas last night to honor Father Kapaun as he was laid in his final resting place. Kapaun died in the Korean War. His remains were buried with a group of 866 other unknowns at the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific in Honolulu until 2018. Lily Wu spoke with area veterans about Father Kapaun's legacy.
For some who served in the military, Father Emil Kapaun is a symbol of hope. For U.S. Navy veteran John Kane, he's a symbol of heroism.
He gave them hope and kept their hope up that they would get out of it. And in doing that, undoubtedly, probably saved a lot of lives.
Kane leads the VFW post in Winfield. He also joined the church group Kapaun's Men to study the life and ministry of Father Kapaun.
I learned he's a great man. He was probably one of the most caring people for his fellow man that I have ever heard and read about.
Father Kapaun died as a prisoner of war in 1951. It took 70 years before his remains were identified.
He wasn't buried in a mass grave, he was buried alone. And one of the most fascinating things about it, which I call it a miracle, when they recovered his remains, they recovered over about 95% of his remains intact. And that is just fascinating.
Since 1995, the KoreanWar.org website has been connecting thousands of veterans, and they've been following Father Kapaun's story.
There are still 155 men missing in the state of Kansas alone. It gives hope to the families that a man such as Father Kapaun gave solace to their family members who may have died in POW camp and may never be found. And for the men who survived, he touched their lives and gave them resolve to survive 2 more horrible years as POWs.
Veterans hoping other POWs and MIAs may someday return home like Father Kapaun.
The McDonald County School District is honoring veterans through sports. The district unveiled its Veteran Pass yesterday. The Veteran Pass allows current and former service members free access to McDonald County sporting events.
So I was approached by a community member, actual veteran, Vietnam veteran, that they just asked, do we do anything for our veterans as far as getting them into sporting events? And I told him no, but that's a great idea.
To get a Veteran Pass, you'll have to show proof of military service and identification, and the pass will have to be renewed every year. Well, there's a new Guinness record holder for the longest ears on a dog. Now, this dog named Lou has 13.38-inch long ears, and that's per ear. Lou's located in the state of Oregon and goes wine tasting with her owner, where people love to touch her ears. She doesn't seem to mind. Lou also loves to scratch her chin on the counter, which Lou's owner, Paige, finds quirky but cute. That's a cute dog.
My goodness. How long are they? What was it?
Did we get an age?
I thought maybe I just missed the number.
I don't think I know that. Sorry, I can look it up though.
No, it's fine. I was just curious. Looks like, honestly, it just looks like Dumbo. Dumbo's cute.
But can he fly or she fly?
No, he's too busy scratching his chin on the kitchen counter. Gorgeous, gorgeous start. Outside of Television City, thanks in part to the cloud cover. Look at that. I don't know. Bob Ross right there. It's so cool looking. All right, let's talk rain because we're going to get some today into the weekend. And right now we find ourselves just about anywhere from inch to inch and a quarter down for the month of September from our historical norm. We're only about half an inch off for the year from January 1. Now we're going to pick up anywhere from 1.5 inches to 2 inches by the time we get into Sunday. We've got two that we've been paying attention to. We'll start on this one right here on the Vernon-Barton County line. It's very, very small, but it's coming down. It's coming down at about 0.6 of an inch an hour. And then we've got a much longer one that's now getting into Washington and Newada counties. And this is the one that's packing some lightning with it. And it's not only the heavy rain, but also look at that line of lightning. Stretches all the way south of I-40. And when we put on the storm tracks, you'll also see that directionally it's creeping toward us. And so that is the one that will be probably pushing not only through Washington and Newada, but make its way into portions of Delaware and Ottawa County first as well. Even if you turn your attention down to the south there by Tulsa and along I-44, the wind not too bad even with that heavier rain, and our temperatures are very, very nice right now. A whole bunch of 70s there in Neosho and Anderson, Toshanootin, 68 in Miami and 68 as well in Pittsburgh and Nevada. Skywatch Storm Tracker, there's not a whole lot of national action going on, and we'll check in with Sam here in just a little bit. Our weather trend has us up into the low 80s today. Clouds and rain keeping us milder than what we had past couple of days. Then once we start mid-morning, carries us into the afternoon. We break late Wednesday night into early Thursday morning, and then we're right back at it Thursday afternoon and evening. Break Thursday night, Friday morning, and then right back at it in time for high school football on Friday. A 7-day forecast that majority of the rainfall we will see will be Thursday and Friday. 70s to open up October on Saturday and Sunday.
All right, well, up next, Pfizer takes another step towards vaccine approval for children. And later, who's your favorite James Bond? You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Pfizer takes another major step towards getting its coronavirus vaccine approved for kids under 12. The shots could be authorized within weeks. Naomi Ruckham reports from New York.
Pfizer has submitted research to the FDA in support of giving its COVID-19 vaccine to children. It tested a lower dose version of the vaccine on kids between 5 and 11 years old, but says their response was as strong as for teenagers who received a standard dose. The drug maker says it will ask for an emergency use authorization in the coming weeks.
Tomorrow, we will hit an important milestone. 200 million adults with at least one shot.
The news came amid word that progress has been made in closing the racial and ethnic divide over the vaccines. A Kaiser Family Foundation survey found 73% of Hispanic adults in the U.S. said they are vaccinated. That's compared to 70% of Black adults and 71% of white adults.
There were many reasons for this gap, including barriers to vaccine access, and some still had concerns, and those concerns were often rooted in misinformation.
A federal court says New York City can fire school employees who refuse to get vaccinated. They now have until 5 p.m. Friday to comply.
We're here to protect your rights, but at the same time, we follow the law.
Basketball star LeBron James says he got the shots after initially having doubts about the vaccines.
But after doing my research and things of that nature, I felt like it was best suited for not only me, but for my family and for my friends.
The NBA says about 90% of its players have been vaccinated, despite no league requirement for doing so. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
The White House says that by tonight, more than 200 million American adults will have received at least one dose of a COVID vaccine. Smoking is highly likely to make a COVID-19 infection even worse, and it increases the risk of death from the disease. That's according to a study published in the respiratory journal Thorax that looked at more than 1,500 people who tested positive for COVID-19. Researchers found that smokers were 80% more likely to be admitted to the hospital for COVID symptoms. Well, more pregnant women have been using cannabis during the pandemic. An analysis of more than 100,000 pregnancies in Northern California found a 25% increase in the rate of cannabis use early in pregnancy. Before the pandemic, 6.75% of pregnant women use cannabis, but that rose to more than 8%. Researchers say pregnant women are more likely to use marijuana if they're depressed, anxious, or have experienced trauma. Joplin residents are getting ready to raise awareness and funds for Alzheimer's care research. On Saturday, Joplin will host the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's. The event will kick off with the Promise Garden ceremony to represent solidarity in the fight against the disease. One of the participants is a Joplin High School student who hopes to raise awareness among kids his age about the disease.
And in addition to fundraising and donating, I primarily seek to raise Alzheimer's awareness amongst the youth in my community, because I believe that to envision a day where there is no Alzheimer's or the dementia, it is important for the youth of today to understand this disease and advocate for it as well.
The walk starts at Mercy Park at 10:15 a.m. Saturday morning. Registration, though, begins a little earlier at 8:30. A dog dying from cancer enjoyed snow for the last time this past Monday in Utah. Maggie's owner contacted the staff at the Salt Lake County Ice Center. They gathered ice shavings in bins and buckets for them. And the ice was placed in Maggie's backyard for her and her family to enjoy. Unfortunately, Maggie has since passed away, but officials say she got to enjoy some of her final moments with her family and some snow.
Okay.
Maggie must like snow.
All right. We've got dog stories about it. Live look over 7th and Range Line. Gorgeous, gorgeous with the clouds that have rolled in early this morning at a very comfortable 70 degrees. But we know we've got rain coming. And we'll pick it up right here on the Barton-Vernon County line. Then we'll work down the south. This one has moved out of northwest, Barton County into Vernon County. And it's coming down at more than half an inch an hour right here. We can actually zoom in. Look at that, 1.34 inches an hour. So it's very, very small, but when that thing hits, it's raining now. Then we drop down into northeast Oklahoma. It begins in Washington and Newada County. We've got heavy, heavy rain right there along I-44 right before the Claremore exit. It drops down south of I-40. And this one is also full of lightning. So as that makes its way toward us, that is what we are just kind of keeping our eyes on here. The lightning strikes right through the center of that, and it is moving from south to north. It's the result of increased Gulf moisture. Remember, you get the blue and the purple as far as the precipitable water map goes. That means you're real, real dry. But now, unlike the past 2 days where we had the fire concerns because the humidity was so low, and that Gulf moisture, we're going to ride up through us, and that's going to lead to rain all the way to the weekend. Nice thing is with the wind, we haven't seen anything overly dramatic right there, even down south where that long line is, just coming in from the east-southeast. 70 in Carthage and Neosho, 69 in Neodesha, 68 in Miami and Nevada. So not a whole lot of temperature differential, even when you do get a little bout of rain and we stay out of anything severe on the thunderstorm risk map. Remember, that's just some showers. Doesn't mean we won't get any lightning or thunder, but we should be able to stay away from the high wind and the hail. Not a whole lot of watches and warnings going on, but of course, we do know we still have hurricane season in the Atlantic Basin. Category 4 Sam right now. Storm swell is going to affect the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, the Bahamas, and Bermuda. Weather trend for here in the 4 states, mostly cloudy skies, highs in the low 80s, and after mid-morning, rain going to last all the way to the afternoon. We break late nights, early mornings, and we do so into the weekend. There we are, Thursday afternoon and evening. Got more rain coming in. Break Friday afternoon and evening. More rain coming in. Be anywhere from easily probably 1.5 to 2.5 inches by the time that Sunday rolls around. We'll be back right after this. All of James Bond's wheels on display to the public, and Lori Loughlin out of prison and coming back to TV for a Christmas movie. Dina Demetrius with our Eye on Entertainment.
Actress Lori Loughlin is reviving her acting career following her conviction and prison stay in the college admissions scandal. Loughlin will appear in the spin-off to the popular When Calls the Heart series, reprising her role as Abigail Stanton in When Hope Calls. The series is moving to the GAC network for its 2nd season. It kicks off with a 2-hour Christmas special airing December 18th. Bruce Springsteen, Jon Stewart, and Jim Gaffigan are just a few who've signed up to appear in the 15th annual Stand Up for Heroes event in New York City. It takes place on November 8th, benefiting the Bob Woodruff Foundation. Which James Bond is the best James Bond? Fans can decide for themselves when wax figures of all 6 actors who portrayed 007 go on display at Madame Tussauds in London. Each wax figure is looking dapper, dressed in a tailored suit. The wax Bonds go on display Thursday ahead of the latest Bond film's release on October 8th. And if you love Bond, you probably also love his vehicles. A collection of dozens of the iconic spy's cars, motorcycles, and even a submarine spanning all of the Bond films are on display in Los Angeles.
There have been other James Bond exhibits, but never to the magnitude of having 35 vehicles. This is called Bond in Motion.
You can roll into the Peterson Automotive Museum in LA to check out the exhibit. That's your Eye on Entertainment. Dina Demetrius, CBS News, Los Angeles.
It's time to honor today's 4-state hero, Larry Salzman, a chief warrant officer in the United States Army. He served in Vietnam from 1968 to 1969, and then again from 1971 to 72. There he earned the Senior Army Aviator Badge and the Vietnam Service Medal. A native of Girard, Kansas. We salute you, Larry Salzman, today's 4-state hero. The family of Gabby Petito is speaking out publicly for the first time. The 22-year-old New York native was found dead in Wyoming last week after setting out on a cross-country trip with her fiancé, Brian Laundrie. Investigators say he's now missing and is considered a person of interest in the case. Michael George reports from Bohemia, New York.
As federal investigators search for Brian Laundrie, relatives of his deceased fiancée, Gabby Petito, displayed tattoos they got in her honor.
She's with us. She's with us. She's with us.
Authorities have been looking for Laundrie after he disappeared from his Florida home 2 weeks ago.
The Laundries did not help us find Gabby. They're sure is not going to help us find Brian. For Brian, we're asking you to turn yourself in.
Petito's body was found last week in a Wyoming national park, and her death has been ruled a homicide. Petito's family held a memorial over the weekend in her hometown on Long Island. They're starting a foundation on her behalf to help families of missing people.
We're just hopeful that we're able to help people in the future, just try to get through something similar.
Petito's father says he wants people to remember his daughter for her love of life rather than her mysterious death.
We need positive stuff to come from the tragedy that happened. All right? We can't let her name be taken in vain.
In recent days, federal investigators have gone to the home of Laundrie's parents to collect personal items to help with DNA matching. Laundrie is considered a person of interest in the investigation, but has not been named a suspect in Petito's death. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Authorities are offering up to a $30,000 reward for tips leading to Laundrie. Well, another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, Missouri couple enters a guilty plea in their role in the January 6th riot. And get ready to get up close and personal with the dog with the longest ears. Yeah, that's right. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
State's most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, where it's currently 7:30. Here's a look at today's top stories. A Missouri couple pleads guilty for their roles in the riot at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. 30-year-old Kelsey Wilson and 32-year-old Zachary Wilson, each of Springfield, pleaded guilty in federal court to misdemeanor counts of knowingly entering or remaining in a restricted building. Authorities arrested Kelsey Wilson in August on the charge, arrested her husband in February, both now facing up to 6 months in prison and a $5,000 fine. They'll be sentenced December the 10th. Court records indicate Kelsey Wilson was a new first-grade teacher at Day Spring Christian School in Springfield at the time of her arrest, but the school says she's no longer employed there. A Southwest Missouri prosecutor is charging 5 employees of a private Christian boarding school with abusing students. Cedar County prosecuting attorney Ty Gaither announced that 5 Agape boarding school employees will be charged with a total of 13 third-degree felony assault counts. Missouri AG's office had recommended prosecuting 22 staffers of the school near Stockton with 65 counts on behalf of 36 victims. Attorney General Eric Schmidt asked Governor Mike Parson to take his office off the case last week, saying Gaither did not plan to seek justice for all the students who said they were abused. The Joplin School District's working to address a bus driver shortage. Now, because of the shortage, bus routes now taking longer than expected. Drop-off and pickup times have become inconsistent, and buses are more crowded. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with the district's transportation director about the problems and with the Joplin assistant superintendent to see how the school plans to address these issues.
When seeing the Joplin School District Transportation Office, it's clear there's no shortage when it comes to buses. But there is a shortage of drivers.
If we don't have backups, which is where our real shortage is, we need about 10 to 12 substitute drivers with the routes that we have.
And this shortage is directly impacting students in Joplin schools.
We combined our routes this year, which made some of them kind of at the limit. So some of those routes now are right at an hour.
Now, the Joplin School Board is stepping in and have some proposed ideas on dealing with the shortage.
One is for us to provide an immediate wage increase for the bus drivers, $1.50 to $1.90 an hour, depending upon what step on the salary schedule the drivers are on.
That would mean drivers could be paid up to $17.93 an hour.
The second part of the proposal is to recommend to the board that we also provide some incentives for drivers.
So, if a current driver were to recruit a new driver that stays with the district, they could both receive a $500 bonus. Getting these new drivers could ultimately add to the safety of their students, something the transportation director warns about.
Because when you don't have enough drivers and you're trying to get things done shorthandedly, it's not as safe as it should be.
Which is why the district says action needs to be taken to give students the education they deserve.
Joplin is in the same situation as every other school district around, every school district in the state, every school district in the country. So we're hoping that this will help get things back to normal.
In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
School board approved a pay raise for bus drivers and other incentives, including additional optional workdays. Board hoping these changes will help improve bus driver recruitment. Pittsburgh State's exploring the topic of censorship during what's called Banned Books Week. University hosting a conference for area high school students covering the topic of books that have been banned or challenged in schools around the nation. The guest speaker, author Chris Crutcher, whose books for young readers have been banned in some places. Crutcher says while some people may find certain books offensive, kids should read them with their parents and open a discussion for difficult or embarrassing subjects.
The more kids know, the more college kids, the more adults know about, the truth of other people's lives, the kinder we can be, the more accepting we can be of each other. It's like everybody has a story. You look at somebody that you really don't like, but you don't know that person's story.
Crutcher himself has 3 books on the American Library Association's list of top 100 banned or challenged books from 2000 to 2009. Titles of those books are Whale Talk, Athletic Shorts, and Staying Fat for Sarah Burns. You can find those and many more banned books in an exhibit at the Bicknell Center Art Gallery. It is free and open to the public. Labette Community College criminal justice students with a hands-on lesson investigating a crime scene. This mock crime scene was set up by Parsons Police Chief Robert Spinks. Chief Spinks saying it gives students a chance to work through the investigation process.
Crime scene of this it's just amazing. Like being able to go out there and process the scene with professionals and learning about it is really cool.
The crime scene was set up near the Parsons Police Department. In California, a man found a fawn shot with an arrow on his property. Luckily, Dave Cook with Sierra Wildlife Rescue responded to the call. Medical team took the fawn to be treated. It was released back into the wild, far away from roads and other forms of civilization. There it goes! I'm not sure which one it is. Those look like they're running well, though. Live look over 7th and Rangeline as we find ourselves about, say 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour. I'm going to have to concentrate a whole lot more on the rain here as we get through the morning, so I figure let's take advantage of the nature's beauty at the end of September while we still have the chance. Joplin sitting at 70 degrees, that humidity continuing to rise. Here's what we're looking at rain-wise. We'll start north and work down to the south. Right now, we've got this one in Vernon County. That's spreading out just a little bit. No lightning involved with it. And we drop down to Montgomery, in between Independence and Coffeyville. This is that one that's been pushing its way through Washington and Newata County. So right there, in between Indy and Coffeyville, that's that leading edge of this band that works its way down past 44. As a matter of fact, it goes all the way south of I-40. So that's the elongated one that we've really been concentrating on, because when we throw up the lightning strikes that we've seen on this, look at that, right through the central portion. Now, I haven't seen any of it in Newata County as of yet, nor in Montgomery County, but know that that is a distinct possibility with the lightning that it is packing and very heavy rain with that as well. Everything really to stay to the west of southeast Kansas for the most part. And so that's what we've got travel-wise. If you're going to be on I-44, say that Claremore exit really is where it's pouring right now. 7-day forecast is going to feed us rain throughout the course of not only today, but the weekend. Here's what Future Track has in store. As it pushes up with all the Gulf moisture, all the way through the nighttime hours, we get a break late tonight into early Thursday morning. Thursday commute should be okay, but then look at that afternoon, evening, nighttime. We're going to get anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rain by the time we get to the weekend. We'll be back with more KOM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Earlier in the show, we introduced you to Lou, who holds the record for the longest ears on a dog. A dog that cute? No, he needs a little longer airtime. So we asked Jeannie Moose if she'd give us a lowdown.
She may not be all ears, but she's enough ears to make it into the Guinness Book of World Records for longest ears on a living dog.
Good girl.
Give Lou a high five for her exceptional coonhound ears.
Lou's ears are 13.38 inches long each. They're the same length.
We could give you an earful about her cute quirks.
The goofiest little weirdo.
For instance, how she scratches her chin on the kitchen counter, but her claim to fame is having ears long enough to tie together. And everywhere she goes in her home state of Oregon, for instance, wine tasting with her owner, people are loving on and touching her velvety ears.
Rubbing her ears in her world is like getting the best massage you could ever get.
When she was a puppy, owner Paige Olson says
she would step on her ears all the time and trip and slide across the ground.
Now she manages to step around them. No, she doesn't get ear infections, but they do get dirty.
But I like to call them self-washing. They kind of just rinse themselves off in the water bowl. She will suck on her own ears if they get too dirty.
The black and tan coonhound was bred with ears long enough to drag in the dirt and stir up old scents of animals so they can track them better.
Sassy.
But what was Lou tracking off to the side throughout our interview? Paige kept having
Lou
to turn her head.
I am sitting by a French door window and she is staring at herself.
Seems she only has eyes for her ears. Or as Carly Simon would sing, "You're so vain. I bet you think this song is about you." Jeannie Mose, CNN.
I love that song. I dive into the conspiracy theories with it. Come on, Carly. Let us know. Also, too, how fitting. Earlier we were talking about James Bond. Of course, Carly Simon. Like heaven above me, the spy who loved me, keeping all my secrets safe at night. Our specific question on the KOM News Now Facebook page is about this dude, Jasper, an 8-pound Chihuahua mix. Now, Jasper always looks like he's smiling, but it's really nothing to laugh at because the smile actually comes from nerve damage. A very playful dog, as are most dogs that you're going to find at animal shelters. And during the pandemic lockdown, families across the country rescued thousands of dogs and cats. But now we're finding many of those animals are being returned to shelter as life kind of returns to normal and people are back at work instead of being at home all the time. Our question to you is, have you ever rescued an animal from a shelter? And this is great. 56% of you say yes, you've rescued a dog. 15% say a cat. We've got 1% at other. I'd love to know what that is. And maybe 28% of you, after seeing this story, will look at these other percentages and be like, hey, it's something that I've never considered, but maybe I will. You can make your voice heard by going to komnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back right after this. A warning from the World Bank about the global economy. The financial institution says the pandemic will do lasting damage to economics across the globe if the coronavirus persists. World Bank says the divide between East Asia and the Western world will grow larger, with the exception of China. Bank is calling for policy action to curb the damage and avert deeper disparities. British Army is on alert to help respond to a severe fuel shortage. Gas stations across the UK running dry. Simply not enough truck drivers to deliver the supplies. Other industries also being affected. Panic buying making the problem worse. Holly Williams is in London, where it's easy to see how this is all unfolding.
It's an extraordinary sight in one of the wealthiest countries in the world.
Well, I knew it would be like this, and I don't think it's going to get any better because all the pumps have run dry now.
Panic buying has set in. The famous British stiff upper lip is quivering. Tempers are flaring.
Just got your car, I swear. I've been here ages, mate.
The problem is truck drivers, a shortage of around 100,000 of them. And it's affecting everything from supermarket shelves to healthcare workers who may struggle to get to work. Experts say it's a perfect storm. Since the UK left the European Union, known as Brexit, it's been harder for many foreign workers to come here. The pandemic encouraged others to return home and left a backlog of trucking licence applications. Mark Corker runs a traditional English pub where the unthinkable has happened. The beer supply has become unstable.
So there are some days when the beer just doesn't arrive that you've ordered
that's
from the
correct.
depot?
Yeah, from our supplier, yeah.
He also has a chronic staff shortage. He says his workers used to come to London from across Europe.
And they're not anymore?
They're not. I haven't had a single applicant who isn't English.
As the holiday season draws near, business leaders say Christmas this year may be bleak.
What is the worst case scenario?
Well, it's disruption for customers in shops. It means that the items they want to get, be it turkeys or toys, just might not be available when they want it.
The UK government says it's issuing 5,000 temporary visas for foreign truck drivers. Business leaders here say that simply won't be enough. Holly Williams, CBS News, London.
Pfizer says it's testing a new pill that could keep the coronavirus at bay if a close contact, such as a family member, gets sick. Pfizer says it plans to enroll more than 2,000 people in a trial to test a drug combination that would also entail use of an HIV drug. People participating in the trial will either get the treatment or a placebo twice a day for 5 to 10 days. Results from this study expected by the end of the year. Status update as Facebook delays its Instagram for Kids after getting pushed back. Social media giant planning to work with parents and lawmakers and hear their concerns. Now, earlier this month, the Wall Street Journal reported Facebook was aware that the use of Instagram by some teens led to mental health issues and anxiety. We'll be right back with more after this, but first, a look at market prices before the opening bell.
Are you in?
Turn the old tower cam to the south because that's where the rain is going to arrive from. There we are over 7th and Rangeline, and here we are on the radar. Now we'll get down to the south. Let's tackle what we've got in Vernon County right now. Not raining as hard as it was, this little pop-up that came out of Barton County, but actually geographically did kind of spread a little bit. Now let's talk about the one down south because it's moved into Montgomery County in between Independence and Coffeyville, now making its way through Coffeyville. Going to remove the cloud cover so we get a better look at it there. Got some heavy rain approaching Coffeyville right on the state line. Notice we track this thing back. And a hard rain there by the Claremore exit along 44. And this thing actually drops down all the way south of I-40. It's a good north-south band. And it is moving to our area. We haven't had any storm reports with it, but when we throw on the lightning tracker, it's been packing pretty good punch there, especially in that central region. So if we do the storm tracks, which is, think about it as a little cheat sheet that we have, gives you a direct idea of the direction of where some of the harder rain is moving. Certainly not going too quick. That cone that you see right there, it's about as far as that one specific hard band of rain will get in an hour. But there we go, moving into Labette County right now as we speak, staying to the west of Oswego and Chautauqua, just about making it over 166, and then it'll head toward Highway 400 as well. It's the result of a whole bunch of Gulf moisture that moving our way, which is good because that way we don't have the fire concerns. Now with the cloud cover and the rain, low 80s, certainly not too bad as far as our temperatures go. Let's talk about future track though. As we push to the later morning, afternoon, a little bit more widespread into tonight, break late tonight, early Thursday afternoon, nighttime. We're going to do it again. Break late Thursday, early Friday, and then Friday all the way through the nighttime hours and into Saturday as well. So there you go, 7:30. Give you an idea about high school football kickoffs, especially for southeast Kansas and the western portion of northeast Oklahoma. Looks like we're going to have quite a bit. And then we've got scattered showers through southwest Missouri as well. Best thing to do is once you take off today, just don't go anywhere without the umbrella because you can tell those rain chances, they stick around all the way till Sunday. Be back, wrap up this edition of the KOM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Happening today, a COVID-19 vaccine for younger children could be available by November. On Tuesday, Pfizer giving the FDA its research on the effectiveness of a shot for kids ages 5 to 11. Drug maker says the reduced dose vaccine prompted a strong antibody reaction. Now, Pfizer says it will likely ask for emergency use authorization for children and do so within a matter of weeks. Gabby Petito's family making their first public comments since the 22-year-old's body was discovered at a Wyoming campground. Petito's parents and step-parents called on her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, to turn himself into police for questioning about Petito's death. They also urged the media to report on other missing persons cases. Congress is running out of time to avert a shutdown of the federal government. Second day in a row, Senate Republicans blocking a bill that would have suspended the national debt ceiling. President Biden was scheduled to go to Chicago today, but canceled the trip in order to keep working to find a way to end the budgetary stalemate. Those are a look at some of today's top stories. Rain coming down in Vernon County, a little pop-up there in Barton once again along the Kansas-Missouri state line, and now we're picking up action bottom left-hand corner of your screen, not only in Montgomery County, Kansas, but also through Washington and Nowata County. A little bit of it making its way into Labette County as well. Everything's going to work from south to north today. 7-day forecast. with rain chances that persist all the way into the weekend, anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 inches. Nice thing is, we spread it out over a 5-day span. I think we'll be able to avoid any flooding concerns by the time it's done. A man in North Dakota is saddled with a cleanup job thanks to a squirrel. Beautiful black walnut tree produces the nuts that squirrels find irresistible, and their hiding spot was under the hood and in the fenders of the man's truck. Winter storage hideout for hundreds of the nuts that are about the size of a lemon. Guy had to clean 42 gallons of walnuts out of his truck. Thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. Back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
We want to thank you